What if the royal rebellion that shocked the world is finally colliding with a force even more powerful than Buckingham Palace itself? What if the couple who spent years rewriting the royal rulebook just discovered that someone in Westminster has started writing a completely different ending to their story? Because tonight, whispers are exploding across London that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's royal future is hanging by a thread after a dramatic new Westminster power play reportedly sent shockwaves through both palace corridors and Montecito living rooms. And if the rumors are true, this is no longer just family drama. This is political warfare wrapped in constitutional paperwork.
William has finally snapped. Enough is enough. He has told friends he will strip Meghan Markle of the HRH title. King Charles is turning a blind eye, but King William won't.
For years, Harry and Meghan seemed untouchable. No matter how many interviews they gave, no matter how many headlines they generated, no matter how many uncomfortable revelations spilled into public view, they always appeared to possess one priceless shield: their titles, their royal connection, their ability to remain linked to the institution while simultaneously criticizing it from thousands of. That strange balancing act became the foundation of an entire post-royal empire. Books, documentaries, speaking engagements, partnerships, magazine covers, everything seemed connected to one powerful reality. There were no longer working royals, but they were still royal. Now insiders claim Westminster has begun asking a question that changes everything. What happens when a couple leaves the institution but continues benefiting from the prestige attached to it?
I did think it would happen. If Harry and Meghan are watching, they should be incredibly concerned, because if it's this simple to take away Prince Andrew's titles, one day it could be this easy to take away Harry and Meghan's title.
Suddenly, that question is no longer being whispered in private drawing rooms. It is allegedly being discussed in places where laws are written and political futures are decided. The timing could not be worse. Meghan has spent years carefully crafting an image that combines celebrity influence with royal mystique. Harry has continued presenting himself as both outsider and insider, rebel and prince. But according to growing speculation, a new movement inside Westminster is examining whether royal privileges should continue indefinitely for individuals who no longer serve the crown in any official capacity. And that's where panic reportedly begins. Sources close to political circles allegedly describe an atmosphere changing rapidly behind closed doors. What once sounded impossible now sounds merely difficult. What once sounded radical now sounds increasingly reasonable to some lawmakers. The conversation itself has become the story. Imagine being Harry for a moment. Imagine realizing that the title attached to your identity since birth could become the centerpiece of a political debate, not because of a palace feud, not because of family arguments, but because elected officials have started asking whether Martin Britain should redefine what royal status means in the 21st century. The irony is breathtaking. The Sussexes spent years insisting they wanted freedom. They wanted independence. They wanted distance from royal structures. Yet now the very symbols they carried away with them may be the subject of a political struggle unfolding thousands of miles from California.
Harry, Meghan Markle and their children could be set to lose their royal title.
Meanwhile, palace watchers are reportedly noticing something else: the silence. King Charles has remained publicly restrained. Prince William continues appearing focused on royal duties. Official statements remain scarce. Yet some insiders claim that behind that silence lies a storm of strategic conversations. Because every day this controversy grows larger, the monarchy faces another uncomfortable question. How much flexibility can an ancient institution tolerate before it starts weakening its own foundations? The atmosphere inside Westminster reportedly feels different now. Not explosive, not dramatic. Something more dangerous, deliberate. Political operators understand that real power rarely arrives with fireworks. It arrives through committees, through reviews, through discussions that slowly transform into proposals, through proposals that quietly become legislation. And according to growing rumors, Harry and Meghan have become symbolic figures in a much larger debate about accountability, privilege, and the future shape of the monarchy itself. That realization changes everything, because once politicians start treating a royal controversy as a constitutional issue rather than a family disagreement, the entire battlefield shifts. Suddenly, lawyers become more important than publicists. Parliamentary votes become more important than press releases. Strategy becomes more important than sympathy. While public attention focuses on headlines, insiders claim another battle is unfolding beneath the surface. A battle over influence, a battle over legacy, a battle over who ultimately defines what modern royalty should look like. As those rumors continue spreading through Westminster, attention is reportedly turning toward one figure whose influence may be larger than anyone publicly admits: Prince William. For years, William has maintained a disciplined public image, rarely engaging in public disputes and almost never responding directly to his brother's accusations. Yet that silence has become one of the most talked about elements of the entire saga. Because while Harry and Meghan dominated headlines, interviews, podcasts, and documentaries, William built something else entirely: patience. Now, some royal observers believe that patience may finally be paying off. According to whispers circulating through political and royal circles, many people see the future king as increasingly determined to protect the institution he will one day inherit. Whether those whispers are accurate or not, one thing is clear: every fresh controversy involving the Sussexes creates new pressure on the monarchy's future leadership. Every explosive claim generates another cycle of scrutiny. Every interview creates another round of questions. And eventually those questions stop being about Harry and Meghan. They start becoming questions about the institution. That is why this Westminster power play reportedly feels so different from previous controversies. It isn't centered on emotions. It isn't centered on reconciliation. It isn't even centered on family relationships. It is centered on systems. Structures, rules, and systems rarely care about personal feelings. For Meghan, the stakes could be her critics have always argued that her commercial success benefited from royal prestige. Her supporters argue she built her own brand through determination and resilience. But regardless of which side people support, one fact remains difficult to ignore. The Duchess of Sussex title became one of the most recognizable personal brands in the world. Imagine that suddenly becoming uncertain. Insiders claim private discussions inside California have become increasingly focused on future planning. Lawyers reviewing possibilities, advisors discussing contingencies, public relations experts evaluating different scenarios. Whether those reports are true or exaggerated, they reveal something important. Even the possibility of change creates instability, and instability is exactly what makes this story so explosive. Because while Meghan allegedly worries about branding, Harry reportedly faces something far more personal: identity. For Harry, the title is not merely a marketing tool. It represents his history, his family, his connection to generations of royal tradition stretching back centuries. Losing that connection would not simply alter public perception. It would fundamentally alter how his place in royal history is remembered. That's why rumors of private outreach efforts continue to spread. Stories of messages, conversations, intermediaries, and attempts to rebuild damaged bridges keep surfacing. Whether any of those stories are true remains unclear, but their persistence reveals how dramatic the situation has become in the public imagination. Meanwhile, another sensitive issue lurks in the background: Archie and Lilibet. The moment their names enter the discussion, the controversy becomes even more emotionally charged, because suddenly the debate is no longer about celebrity, interviews, or family disputes. It becomes about children and legacy, about what future generations inherit, about whether political decisions should reach beyond parents and affect descendants. Inside palace circles, that possibility reportedly creates deep discomfort. Even among people critical of Harry and Meghan, many view children as a line that should never be crossed. Yet Westminster discussions, if they continue expanding, could force uncomfortable questions nobody wants to answer publicly. And that's exactly why this story has become so captivating. At its heart, it is no longer merely about Harry and Meghan. It is about the future shape of monarchy itself. It is about whether royal status should remain tied permanently to bloodlines or become increasingly linked to service and responsibility. It is about whether tradition can survive unchanged in a modern political age. For King Charles, the situation reportedly remains agonizing. Every possible outcome carries consequences. Defend family, and critics accuse him of weakness. Support reform, and critics accuse him of abandoning his son. Remain silent, and others fill the vacuum with their own agendas. That is the trap surrounding the monarchy right now. And as Westminster continues generating speculation, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. The story that began with a royal wedding, a fairy tale romance, and global fascination has transformed into something nobody could have predicted: a constitutional drama, a political battle, a struggle over identity, influence, and legacy. If this new Westminster power play continues gaining, Harry and Meghan may soon discover that the greatest challenge they have ever faced is not coming from palace gates, royal courtiers, peers or media critics. It is coming from a political machine that moves quietly, deliberately, and relentlessly once it decides change is necessary. And that possibility alone is enough to send shockwaves from London to Montecito. Because for the first time in years, the question is no longer whether Harry and Meghan can control the narrative. The question is whether the narrative has finally escaped their control altogether. And if that happens, the next chapter of the Sussex story could become the most dramatic one yet.